It's a shame to think that the government of a nation has become the occupier of that nation. And it's focusing on its own personal agendas rather than what's the best and the fairest and the most democratic way for the benefit of the nation. What is Trudeau doing?
Conservatives had 2 major wins today. You can successfully shout bingo on your card because, wow, look at that. Turns out we're right. And we're not right because we're funded by Vladimir Putin. We're right because we have this crazy thing in our brain called common sense. We're right because we reject the herd mentality of the woke movement. And if you like or love to be able to shut down libs, not with cruelty because we don't like to use their own tactics, but with common sense and facts, today's episode is definitely for you. I'm almost ashamed that I, as a 28-year-old random gal from the prairies of Canada, am the one to do this, but there is so much truly outrageous things that must be fact-checked that our elected officials, that our elitists of this country have been saying that simply are not true. I'm Jasmine Lane. This is Over Opinionated. Subscribe to the channel. Give me a follow depending on where you are watching this content on. Comment your thoughts down below and like the video. That helps the algorithm push it out to more people. Let's get right into this victorious day.
Breaking news! The government is backing away from its capital gains tax hike. Folks, the government says they're now going to delay the capital gains tax hike. They're not going to be taking more money from Canadians this year through their undemocratic, illegal, and economically illiterate capital gains tax hike. And folks, the reason the government is backing away from this awful capital gains tax hike is because of you. Because you took action. Because you pressured the government. Because taxpayers launched a legal challenge against the CRA, taking the CRA to court, telling the CRA do not enforce this illegal and undemocratic capital gains tax hike.
I had so many people who reused my content talking about the capital gains tax hike, saying that I was wrong, I was an idiot, you know, blah, 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 the usual spiel that they give. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to play the long game on this one because I don't think that I'm wrong. In fact, I know that I'm not wrong, but okay, sure. You can say whatever the heck it is that you want. And today, Minister of Finance and Intergovernmental Affairs LeBlanc said, quote, "Given the current context, our government felt that it was the responsible thing to do. I look forward to further conversations with Canadians on how we can ensure Canada's fiscal policy encourages robust and sustained economic activity in every region of the country." So the tax hike has officially been deferred. This was announced earlier today. The implementation of its change to the capital gains inclusion rate from June 25th of this year to January 1st of 2026. They announced this inside of a press release, and they also included that they would maintain or enhance existing exemptions and create new incentives for investment, which is just, gosh, it is so unbelievably rich. Like now that push comes to shove, all of the things that the Liberals said, no, this is really good. Oh, those are just radical right-wingers over there who clearly don't understand the economy. And it's like one by one, all of these things that anybody with a brain knew was harmful to our economy, even though we were being told the opposite, but we knew that that wasn't true. And we were steadfast in knowing that that wasn't true and pushing for the truth and pushing for this type of stuff to be removed. And now the Liberals are like, yeah, okay, fine. You're right. You caught us. Oopsies.
Let me be clear. If we were only to remove the carbon tax, we'd create 2 problems. First, Canada's emissions would not decrease as rapidly as before.
Fact check. So yeah, the carbon tax has not significantly reduced emissions at all. Emission reductions that have happened in our country to the tune that we actually measure them have actually just been due to other things like COVID-19 because, you know, we were all locked in and we weren't working and some people still haven't, rather than the tax itself. The carbon tax is actually about generating government money, more so than it is about actually reducing emissions. Now, yes, they do give back a portion of this money to consumers, to people who are paying into it, but they still make, to the tune of a couple billion every single year off of it. So this is a revenue generator, as most taxes are, and has nothing to do with actually helping the environment. Also, countries without a carbon tax have all done far better in reducing their emissions than Canada has. So what could be some alternatives here? Well, we could expand nuclear power, which the Trudeau government has said, oh no, we can't do that. We could invest in more carbon capture technology, which Trudeau has said, oh no, we can't do that. We could also improve some energy efficiency within our industries, which some companies are in fact doing quite well, by the way. And perhaps we could incentivize clean innovation rather than, punishing people for driving to work and heating their home. So yes, Mark Carney's claim right there is incredibly misleading because the carbon tax is far from a driving factor in terms of emission reductions, and removing it actually wouldn't slow Canada's goals whatsoever at all. Canada does contribute to, fewer than 2% of global emissions.
And secondly, most Canadian households would be worse off because of the end of the rebate. Pierre Poilievre's, with his simplistic and misleading axe the tax, doesn't care about either problem.
Oops, it's me with another fact check, because the carbon tax rebate does not make most Canadians better off. It actually leaves most of them worse off than before we had it, which is a given if you just look around and check your bank account and see the cost of everything around you. In fact, the public budget officer has confirmed that middle class and lower income Canadians pay more in carbon taxes than they receive back. Scrapping the tax would immediately lower the cost of, fuel, food, groceries, everyday essentials, all of that stuff, which would then make the rebate unnecessary because you wouldn't be relying on, like $180 every 3 months. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's really helping me out. Okay. When everything around you instead would just be a little bit cheaper. Also, higher energy costs do in fact drive inflation. This is an absolute fact. So that alone also cancels out any of the supposed benefit that this rebate creates. So, yet again, Mark Carney, thank you so much for saying that the Conservatives are misleading and don't care. In fact, you are outright absolutely lying. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's for that heat pump business that you have. Maybe it's for the World Economic Forum. As a quick side note before we get into this, every single video that I do that discusses climate change or carbon tax gets demonetized. So in the event that happens, as you know, after I got kicked out of my media job, this is all that I have now. So if you feel like it and you can manage to spare anything, don't get me wrong, I understand how tough these times are, but there is a PayPal donation link that is in the pinned comment, and it's also in the description of this video, which helps me keep the lights on here. Literally, I do not live lavishly or ever leave the house because I just can't afford to. So
it's certainly clear that he doesn't really understand how important that money in the rebate is to hardworking families across the country. But we get it. We care. And that's why our plan will directly solve both problems.
Can I just say, full-heartedly, I don't care how strong of a lead you may or may not think the Conservatives have in this upcoming election. Please, for the love of our good Lord, we need to really, really make sure that we're doing everything humanly possible, debunking as much as we can in a way that is well received, not like vitriolic retorts in Instagram comments. Like, we really need to work hard to ensure that Mark Carney is never, ever the Prime Minister of this country. That man is the Antichrist, okay? He is the absolute Antichrist.
And I'll be putting the tariff of 25% on Canada and separately 25% on Mexico. And we will really have to do that because we have very big deficits with those countries. Those tariffs may or may not rise with time.
Now, according to Reuters, this was all over CTV and CBC and Global. Everybody was resharing it, that apparently they had a source that confirmed that President Trump was saying tariffs would be offset put off until March 1st. That has since turned out to be fake news.
Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, said today that if the U.S. imposes tariffs, he will respond and he will not relent until the tariffs are removed. Are we seeing the start of a trade war with Canada?
I don't think so. I think the president is going to implement those tariffs tomorrow, and he will respond to Mr. Trudeau's comments in due time, I am sure.
What type of things have to happen? What does the administration need to see in order to avoid those tariffs?
Well, the tariffs are incoming tomorrow on Canada, and the reason for that is because both Canada and Mexico have allowed an unprecedented invasion of illegal fentanyl that is killing American citizens and also illegal immigrants into our country. In fact, I have more language for you right here. Canada, Mexico, and China, which, as I mentioned, President Trump will implement a 10% tariff on China, have all enabled illegal drugs to pour into America. The amount of fentanyl that has been seized at the southern border in the last 2 years alone has the potential to kill tens of millions of Americans. And so the president is intent on doing this, and I think Justin Trudeau would be wise to talk to President Trump directly before pushing outlandish comments like that to the media.
Yeah, so Justin Trudeau working so hard for Canadians, doing everything that they can. Has he even spoken to Donald Trump directly since all of this started to happen? Because it doesn't actually seem like he has. It seems like he has just kind of run away and then decided that he was going to like stack the Senate, even though his party is completely failing and nobody trusts him or wants him. Like, there's so many things going on right now that make no sense. They are not in the best interest for the country. They seem so evil, so corrupt. The only person who really is going out of their way to speak to Donald Trump and plead for Canada is Premier Danielle Smith. And if you want to show how anti-Canada Justin Trudeau is, his response to that was to slander her and shame her and put people against her, insinuating that she is some kind of a traitor for the things that she is doing. So yeah, as the press secretary said, maybe Justin Trudeau could just pick up the phone and talk to Donald Trump. That almost makes me wonder, and obviously this is speculative because we don't know, but we've heard a lot of people in Trudeau's camp who have just been doing a lot of name calling and kind of like loosely veiled threats of things that you can't actually do, one of which Megyn Kelly, of all people, discussed on her show, which I'm going to show you right away here. And it makes me think that, has Justin Trudeau actually been avoiding Donald Trump this entire time? Like, this would be the time for collaboration. Has he actually been avoiding him? Have they even spoken a single word to each other since all of this started to fall out? And if they had, how different would that have made the situation? I can't fathom being in this predicament if I was a world leader and not calling the person who's doing this and trying to figure something out. I can't fathom ignoring them and trying to handle this while having no idea what's even going on.
What are the risks to us? Because you've got the Premier of Ontario saying, we can't bring a knife to a gunfight here. If they're going to do this to us with these tariffs, we got to fight back the same way. We supply them with a bunch of electricity. Let's shut it down. So can Canada shut our lights off?
Well, then who would they be selling it to? Where else would they send that electricity? I mean, it would hurt them as well. They would have no market to sell it to.
Which just takes me back to my earlier comments in this episode. The fact that all of the people in Trudeau camp are saying, yeah, no, we should definitely diversify. Oh, yeah, we got to really do this and that. All these things that conservatives have been pushing for so many years. And were shut down and insulted every single time. And then all of a sudden, this happens and they're like, yeah, okay, you were right. And yeah, Trudeau's posse really needs to stop making such outlandish comments to the media. There is no winning for Canada in this situation, not at all. And it is outrageous to try to sugarcoat things and make it seem as though you're this tough guy when you're not. And that's also why so many people are switching teams. They're jumping ship from the Liberal Party because they're so tired of being lied to. I'm tired of things being sugarcoated. Tell it to me exactly as it is. I'll panic if it deserves panic, but that at least sets me up for far more success than being under this illusion that everything is A-okay when it's not A-okay.
Our beloved Canada is under threat. It is an economic threat, but it's also a threat to our values of decency and inclusion.
Mr. Angus, who also, by the way, is retiring. He's not running in the next election. Why are you on stage? Please stop talking. But this made me feel so mad, not only because he just completely contradicted everything that he said about all of these great, wonderful things about Canada. It's like you, in the same sentence, like 12 seconds apart, you go from totally complimenting these wonderful morals and values of our country to this? Really?
It's a threat to our sovereignty and our very future as a nation. The threat comes, of course, from the President of the United States, a convicted felon and known predator. He's threatening massive tariffs to try and break us as a people. But the threat is also being driven by the hate algorithms of the oligarchs like Elon Musk. And there is the threat from people in our own country who would sell out our birthright to appease the gangster class from Mar-a-Lago. That is not going to happen.
So that is the Justin Trudeau gang style of diplomacy, right? How has that worked for us so far? Quite poorly. I think we can all agree on that fact. Versus what Premier Danielle Smith is doing. Just take a listen to this.
Far be it for me to correct the president, but let me tell you what we do have in Alberta, and you can be the judge about whether we should continue to be a solid trading partner and supplier to the U.S. We have 1 trillion barrels of oil in place, of which 200 billion barrels are recoverable, and we also have about 500 trillion cubic feet of gas. We surpassed Saudi Arabia in 2014 as the largest exporter to the United States, most of that coming from my province of Alberta. And we'd like to sell more. There was a concept that the president first signed on 2 years ago of Keystone XL, which would have taken our particular grade of heavy oil and connected it with the heavy oil refineries in Texas. And we'd like to restart that conversation.
Oh, yeah.
We don't feel that we're in competition with the U.S. You've got a different grade, and your refineries need our particular grade of heavy oil.
Well, I know that when a lot of conservatives talk or hear Donald Trump talk about Canada becoming the 51st state, I think those conservatives are only excited about Alberta becoming part of the United States. And I kid, of course, because you guys have great ski resorts, obviously, and the whole cowboy culture that we identify with here in this country. But you are serious. And conservatives in Canada are also serious about working with the U.S., unlike Justin Trudeau and his party when it comes to shutting down these cartels on the border.
Well, it's very true. I mean, we were one of the first to announce our own border security plan. Keep in mind, in our jurisdiction, we have some policing functions and border functions that are federal, and then some policing functions that are provincial. And at the provincial level, we deployed special teams to be able to go to the border, sheriffs who are going to be armed with border dogs so that they can do the sniffer test to see if there's any drugs. They're going to be trained in commercial vehicle inspection. We've got 10 drones that are all-weather drones, and the federal government has added a Black Hawk helicopter, which has started patrolling our border as of yesterday. There were news stories about it. We did take a news team down yesterday so that they could see what we're deploying, and we're making those images available. But we are serious. You'll probably see in the news as well. We finally prosecuted three individuals behind a fentanyl super lab, and they got 18 years in jail. And so we're taking this seriously. We've got a couple of other major super labs that our law enforcement in Alberta have busted, and I hope to see the same results. We don't want our people killed by these bad guys either. And so we've been taking action on this for a number of years now, and we want to work with our American partners to show how serious we are.
Well, talk to us about the Liberal Party in Ottawa and Justin Trudeau. And, he had this kind of fake resignation. The Liberal Party is still in charge with kind of a, puppet government going on. But there's an opportunity right now, a crucial time when we have a new administration in the United States and a willingness to cooperate and work with the leadership in Canada. It doesn't seem, though, like the Liberal Party is up to the task.
I hope they are. They did announce a $1.3 billion strategy. And what I've seen is even though that because of the parliament not functioning right now, they're having to deploy existing resources. So they've managed to find that. And that's actually good. I know that they've had a conversation with Howard Lutnick. He seems to be encouraged by what he's seeing. But what I've seen from the U.S. president is he says, don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me what you're going to do. So that's why we've gone out with great effort to demonstrate that we're already there. We're going to be monitoring a 2-kilometer border in Alberta, which borders Montana, to make sure that our part of the country is secure. I know my neighbor in Saskatchewan's doing the same. My neighbor in Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec are also deploying their own forces as well. It is really an all-hands-on-deck approach. This is why we need a border czar, similar to what you have with Tom Homan, is that because we have turmoil, we've got a prime minister who's only going to be there 38 days, another one who might be elected for the same amount amount of period, then a general election. We have some instability in who the person is to actually speak with. And
well,
so
it's amazing. It's amazing how the Liberal Party finds the resources to do this when that election is looming, and they're facing some serious challenges.
So let's just compare that, which was very rational, reasonable, friendly, and actually in communication as well with the networks and people in the United States, versus what all of the liberals are doing, which is like running and hiding and being keyboard warriors, like just such typical behavior from leftist woke activists. Truly, Chrystia Freeland announces a plan to protect our economy from Trump, saying that she's going to immediately publish a detailed dollar-for-dollar retaliation list for consultation, convene a summit, and form an international coalition with Mexico, Denmark, Panama, and the EU. How stupid are you? What? Donald Trump is going after Mexico and Panama in particular, and you want to have an international coalition with them? What? Direct all federal government agencies to stop purchasing any goods from American companies. What? Block American companies from bidding on Canadian federal procurement contracts. Ban American firms, including American-based branches of international firms. Defend Canada's cultural sector and artists from Donald Trump's billionaire buddies. Like, she is literally talking like such an insane radical here. Like, so radical. And I'm so embarrassed that she even published this. This is so embarrassing to me. Wow. And then to top off the embarrassment, here's what Jagmeet Singh posted the other day. You can't make this up. This is humiliating. I'm secondhand embarrassed. I feel ashamed right now. Like, these are not grown-ups. These are not mature, fully formed brained adults. These are not at all. Their behavior is so adolescent. These are not grown-ups that should be in charge of anything. What is wrong with these people? Oh my Lord, please get out of my life. Chrystia Freeland, Jagmeet Singh, Justin Trudeau, all of you, please leave us alone. Please, holy crap. I just cannot even believe how they have made a terrible situation absolutely disastrous with real people who they're supposed to protect on the line. Are you serious right now? I need to go for a walk. I had a few other things I wanted to get into today. One being some more stuff that was said in the latter half of that interview with Danielle Smith that was really, really important. And then also something that Kevin O'Leary did recently that I think is rather eye-opening. I'm going to save those, even though, yeah, sure, whatever, they're a day late. I'm going to save those for tomorrow, though. So stick around for that. Tomorrow, I honestly think in so many ways is such a you don't want to miss this episode, because it really is so eye-opening. I'm Jasmine Lane. This is Over Opinionated. Subscribe to the channel. Give me a follow on other social media platforms as well. Comment your thoughts down below. Like the video, and I will stop telling you to do things now. I'll see you tomorrow.